Hey there, welcome to Alpine Bravo. My name's Brendan, and this is my channel for all things Microsoft Flight Simulator. Thanks for tuning in, and we're just doing a short IFR flight from Seattle up to Vancouver today in the Deer Kodiak 100. We're just testing out a few little features on this flight, and also a chance to do an IFR flight, which we've not done for a while in the Kodiak. So our routing today, IFR, as I say, so it's not a direct route, but it's 137 nautical miles, which would take an hour and 4 minutes. Fuel, calculating a trip fuel of 314 pounds with a block fuel of 634, allowing for reserve and diversion. But we've got £1,000 of fuel on board. It's more than adequate. Our payload today is 1,967 pounds of pharmaceuticals, which we've got 750 pounds loaded up in the cargo pod, and then the rest distributed in the cabin of the aircraft, giving us an all-up takeoff weight of 6,690 pounds and a centre of gravity of 33.37. The weather here at Seattle is IFR. The base is reported at 700 feet, but it is looking better up at Vancouver, but still minimum VFR up there. Cruising altitude of 8,000 feet today. We'll see if that gets us above the clag. There is icing reported. Obviously flying with live weather. Hi there if you just joined the stream. Bye there if you just left. People drop in and drop out. Winds aloft, pretty stiff headwind, 36 knot headwind. It's coming from the northwest again, still same as yesterday. So we might drop lower to try and, depending on the cloud and the icing, we might drop a bit lower to get out of that headwind. But we'll have a closer look at we'll just have a look now at what the current MEDAR is for Seattle. So Seattle, we have, it's IFR, 5.6 degrees C, overcast, 7 knots of wind from 130, so we'll be taking off 16 runways, and 7 mile visibility, ceiling 700 feet, and altimeter 3058. Kidok. Right, well, that's the departure briefing. I'll get on with our checklists. So our fuel and payload are on board and checked. Just make sure we have on-air tracking. We can start that tracking. Our pre-flight weight and balance checks are complete. Passenger briefings are none on board today. All doors are latched. Seatbelts and shoulder harnesses are adjusted and secure. We'll just test our head tracking now. Yep, that seems to be working fine. Master switch. Go on.
Seattle clearance delivery November for Niner Tree Kilo IFR to Vancouver, ready to copy.
Well, let's get my eager beaver co-pilot. Getting my clearance straight away. Seems to always be activating itself.
Takeoff runway 16 left climb and maintain 9,000 feet. Departure on 125.9er squawk 0356.
So he's given us 9,000 feet. Departure 16 left. 9 score right. Okie doke. So I don't know why it keeps on activating the co-pilot option, which I always have turned off, but it always seems to turn itself back on again. Anyway, so our master switch was on, our master avionics is on, we've initialized our MFD, our parking brake is set, our engine inlet can remain normal. Fuel select valves left and right open, and our firewall fuel shut off is pushed. Emergency power lever is normal, throttle is idle, prop is favored, condition lever is cut off, wing flaps are up, circuit breakers are in, cabin heat is off, takeoff torque. Well, we're at 423 feet here, 7 degrees, so it'll be 1740, takeoff torque, 1680 to climb out, and we'll just determine our VR. So we are 6,700. So yeah, we'll rotate it to 61 knots. And if we have to come back round, we'll land at 73. Autopilot. Just perform test. And we will tune the ADIS now. A little bit redundant as we've already got our ATC clearance.
Seattle Airport information, India 2200 Zulu. Wind 155 at 5. Visibility 9. Sky condition, ceiling 2,200 feet broken.
Okay.
Temperature 6. Dew point 10. Altimeter 30.57.
3057.
16 center, ILS runway 16 left and ILS runway 16 right in use. Landing and departing runway 16 center, runway 16 left and runway 16 right. DFR aircraft say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact. You have India.
So that's India. Okay, back to ground.
Seattle Airport information, India 2200 Zulu. Wind 155 at 5. Visibility 9.
Hi there, if you just joined the stream. Just going through my checklists before starting engine checklists. So we've got our WX and ADIS. We've already got our ATC clearance. So we can move on for a battery powered engine start. Bus voltages 24 volt minimum, 25 shown. Flashing beacon can go on. Emergency power lever is normal. Auxiliary fuel pump. Yeah, emergency power lever normal. Yeah. Auxiliary fuel pump can go on. And is enunciated. Fuel flow 0. Ignition switch. We'll be doing a low motor start. So we will use our ignition. So ignition can go on. And we'll turn the starter on. And it is enunciated. And NG rising. That's at 314. Temperatures and pressures rising. NG rising, monitor ITT. Yeah, haven't been on for a while. It was away skiing for 10 days. That's ITT peaked at 560. So we can bring our prop out of favour and bring it to max RPM. Engine instruments check, yeah, temperatures and pressures look good. Fuel flow 124 pound per hour. Our auxiliary, well, our starter can go off, igniters can go off, auxiliary fuel pump to standby. That's all good. And alternator and generator can go on. exterior lights, so we'll have our nav lights and our taxi lights on now, and we'll ground personnel to blind. Climate control system. Can go on. They do need to sort it so it doesn't come on at, I don't know why, it would be 28 degrees in the cabin. Right, okay, so that's climate control system, and we'll just test our oxygen, yep, and test ELT. All good. Right, we'll set up our G1000 now. So target altitude first of all. S, so we're going to cruise at, well, we've been given 9,000 by ATC, so we better set that up. Not used to going so high in the Kodiak. There's 9,000. Barometer's already set. We want to bring up our DME, bearing 1 on nav 1 and bearing 2 on nav 2. Come back out of that, and we'll set our CDI now to GPS. Our transponder is set and squawking mode Charlie. Today we are flying to Seattle, from Seattle up to Vancouver, IFR. So 137 nautical miles should just take over an hour. Cruising at 9,000 feet. So just going to make sure that I have an active flight plan. And it does have the procedure loaded in correctly. So we have the Seattle 6 departure. You can see then there's a manual sequence. So what we've in fact got is quite a large gap between the first part of the departure, then the pane PAE VOR. So I want to tune the pane VOR, but I'll also put it on nav 2, and we'll have the Seattle VOR. So I'll just bring up the departure plate, the plate for the Seattle. It's the Seattle 8 departure. I've got, yep, Seattle 8 departure. So if I just change the screen that I'm on, you should be able to now see the navigaph and the Seattle 8 departure. So it's just basically, it's a want to depart on the radial 161 from Seattle VORTAC, which is on 116.8, so I'll tune that now. So that's 116.8 on nav 1, and we'll just verify that that is up on the PFD. Ah, what are we flying? Right, okay, we're flying a Kodiak 100 by Cyvr Studio. Right, we just want to set up our course of 161 radial. So I'll just back up really for the GPS. So that's 161 set. And I want the pane VOR on nav 2, and that's pane is on 110.6. So that's 110.6 on nav 2. It's not picking it up, probably because it's I'm too low. Right, I think that's good. So that's our engine start checklist complete. We can now move on to taxi. So many checklists. Right, so our taxi now, you're probably still looking at, yeah, you'll still be looking at our Navigraph screen. So let's see where we are. We're down here. We're right at the wrong end. I thought we'd be taking off runway 34, but hey ho. So I'm going to expect 16 left we got. So it's the big long one. So he's going to probably give us Bravo. So we'll get off the ramp onto Bravo. And probably Bravo all the way up to, he'll probably give us Delta or Charlie for the whole short, but we'll take an intersection well before that. We'll probably take Hotel, because it's an 11,900 foot runway and I only need 1,000 feet to take off. So yeah, we'll take off there, straight on to the Seattle 6 departure, where we'll head south on that 161 radial, and once we're above 740 feet I think we're kind of free to make our turn, and then we will turn back up the Payne VOR up here, and that's the beginning of our track up to Vancouver. Now I don't know what approach I'm going to get going into Vancouver at the moment. That will get assigned by ATC when I get closer. Okay, I will pop the back onto simulator. Right, that's our taxi and departure briefing complete. I'll get our ATC clearance now for our taxi.
Seattle ground November for 9er 3 kilo, with India ready to taxi IFR.
November 49er 3 kilo taxi 2 and hold short of runway 16 left using taxiway Bravo. Cross runway tree 4 right Alpha, cross runway tree 4 right Sierra Bravo Charlie. Contact tower on 120.9er 5 when ready.
Taxi 2 and hold short runway 16 left via taxiway Bravo, cross runway tree 4 right Alpha, cross runway tree 4 right Sierra Bravo Charlie 9er 3 kilo.
Well, I'm not sure why he's got us crossing any runways. What was it? Alpha Sierra. Well, I can see where. There's Alpha. Alpha's up here. Oh, well, it doesn't really make any sense at all. I'll just go up all the way up Bravo. It'll sort itself out. Right. Okay, got ATC clearance. Parking brake we can release. On the toe brakes. Flight controls, well, there's not much wind. Flight instruments we'll check as we taxi. So, release toe brakes. Put the head tracking on. Let's try and get out. Turn to the left here. Avoid that car. Get down in the beta fairly quickly. We'll just come off the ramp. So that's marking the end of the ramp there. Try and pick up a taxiway. Bravo. Compasses appear to be swinging nicely, and Flight instruments look good. Hey there, welcome if you just dropped in. Just on our taxi up to runway 16 left here at Seattle. Got a bit of traffic around, it's all injected live traffic. Did toy with the idea of flying VATSIM today. There is a control, there is actually tower on here at Seattle at the moment, but it's late and I just didn't have quite the energy for VATSIM tonight. So we'll take the Echo intersection. Picking up a little bit of ground speed here. Yeah, it's at 20 knots, really want to go any faster, so bring it back into beta range. Also zoom the MFD in a bit. Put the flight plan out. Welcome if you just joined. 16 knots ground speed, that's a bit better. Not quite so fast. Really makes a big difference being able to use the beta range on the prop. Let's see if I bring it into beta there, it's just not going to produce nearly as much power. Which makes it a lot easier to handle the Kodiak on the ground. A lot of people complain about how difficult it is to handle the Kodiak on the ground, but I find it's alright if you're just don't go too fast. It does have nose wheel steering, which really helps it turn tight, which is great on bush strips. So we're looking for Echo. No idea why it gave me instructions to cross runways. I'll just pull up the taxi ribbon and see. Yeah, that looks about right. Spend more time taxiing than you do flying, virtually. You know what, I'm going to take intersection kilo here. Confirm it's kilo and confirm that's 16 left. Okay, we'll just pop on the parking brake and do our before takeoff checklist. Parking brake set. Pop on the inertial. Wheel levers are locked. Flight controls are free and correct, apart from it's hitting my knee board. But I'll change when I position my seating properly. Flight instruments are checked and set. Just make sure, yeah, barometer set, CDI set, nav radios are set. Yeah, that's all good. I am not wearing a seatbelt, but I am got to reposition my my office chair. I'm a bit in a relaxed position at the minute. Auxiliary fuel pump can go back on for takeoff. And we'll just confirm that our fuel selectors are open and our firewall fuel is pushed. fuel quantity. Fuel quantity, we've used £31 in the taxi, so we'll just make a note of that. Wing flap set for takeoff. That's 20 set indicated, and just have a, yeah, that looks good out the window. Elevator trim. We're pretty far aft centre of gravity, so we'll put in quite a bit of elevator trim and rudder trim. Should be fine. No aileron trim today. Engine inlet will remain in normal, and it is correctly enunciated. Pitot heat not required. Ice protection not required. Avionics. Just recheck everything. All looks good. Well, actually, we'll pop heading mode on, and we'll put flight level change on, and we will put in 88 knots for the climb out on FLC. That'll just give us flight director guidance as we climb out. Transponder, confirm, yep, Squawking Mode Charlie, annunciators, checked, all expected, strobes can go on, taxi lights can go off, landing lights can go on, and we can now get our ATC clearance. Tune tower.
Seattle Tower, November, for 9er 3 Kilo, ready for IFR departure, runway 16 left.
November 49er 3 Kilo altimeter 30.57 with 155 at 5.
155 at 5. So that'll be a slight left-hand crosswind. I'll just read
Cleared
that
for
back.
takeoff, runway 16 left, November, for 9er 3 Kilo.
Okay, condition lever can go to high idle. And we can go for a normal takeoff, so put park and brake off. Sure nothing's coming. Okay, we'll get ourselves lined up. I'm just going to pop that monitor out onto another screen. Right, we'll sync the heading bug. Start the timer. That now. Wing flaps checked for set, elevator is set for takeoff, elevator trim set for takeoff, and power enunciator is all expected. Okay, so let's get this show on the road. So our takeoff torque limit was 1790. My speed's live. 50 knots, 60 knots, rotate. Wheels off at about 82. Pitch up to climb out at 88. Center line. Trim up. is 500 feet, take the first notch flaps out.
Good day.
125.9er for 9er 3 kilo. Seattle departure November for 9er 3 kilo is passing 1,200 feet, climbing 9,000 feet.
Okay, just let the speed build up to 95 knots.
3 kilo Seattle departure altimeter 30.57. Continue as planned.
Seattle departure November for 9er 3 kilo, requesting vector to next
No, I didn't really need to request vectors. Hey-ho.
3 kilo, turn right heading 160. Proceed on course.
I'm actually going to turn left, so. Okay, I'm going to pop the pitot heat on, put anti-ice on, and the inertial separator as we are now into visible moisture, and it's only 1 degree. Okay.
Turn right heading 160, proceed on course 9er 3 kilo.
Just turn to the north. It's 3000, and we will go into a cruise climb now. 115 knots. Okay, that's a good track. We want to pick up where I want to go direct to Seattle VOR, which is pointer 2. So I'll just sink heading back to that now. There's 115 knots. Okay, after takeoff checklist, our auxiliary fuel pump can go off, our landing lights can go off. Inertial separators and bypass. Anti-icing is on. Thank you very much. It's all a lot easier if you follow the proper procedures and set the aircraft up right. So we're just going to, in fact I might even change the CDI to nav2, and what we'll do is we will change the course to, what do we want it to go? We want it to go to about 340. Oh, broken out the cloud. That's interesting. Why is it not lighting? Ah, I know why. Right, yeah. We'll put CDI onto CDI 1 and we'll tune pain on nav 1. Pain is 110.6. So nav 1 110.6. Now we will try changing the course, that's better. Can't change the course on nav 2. What we can do is use this to fly us directly to the Pain VOR, as we're on a manual sequence like here. You'll see the deflection needle, and we just center that, and then we can fly straight towards it. Okay, you can put the yaw damper on now as well. Yeah, it's looking like 341, 342, 342. So we'll just track that. It's 24 miles. Rudder trim looks good. Now we're out the visible moisture, so I can take the inertial separator off, turn off the ice protection system. I'll leave the Q heat on. Yeah, it's a good old sealing. It's trimmed very nicely now, just requiring very gentle input. So 24 knot headwind, that will get stronger as we climb higher. Playing the old chase the trim wheel game now. So at 9,000 we're not going to need oxygen. -5 outside air temperature now. So just work through my cruise climb checklist. Auxiliary fuel pump is in standby. Landing. I don't want to go up to 12,000 feet.
Climb and maintain 12,000 feet 9 or 3 kilo.
I'll request lower.
Seattle departure 9 or 3 kilo. Request 9,000 feet.
9 or 3 kilo descent and maintain 9,000 feet.
Yay.
Descend and maintain 9,000 feet 9 or 3 kilo.
So now we're in the cruise. I can take the rudder out. Also time that was like 9 minutes. And we're up at 150 knots, so just bring the torque back a little bit and bring the prop back to 2000. RPM. You know what, I've never tracked a VOR using autopilot in the Kodiak. But I am now. It's behaving quite nicely. Yeah. Not a lot to see on the ground. Okay, Well, we are tracking towards the Pain VR, and we've got 40 miles to run. Just have a temperatures and pressures are good. Fuel flow is 316 pounds an hour, which is good. I mean, our cruise torque is sitting at 1440. I'll just bring that up to 1450. Try and keep that fuel flow down to 320 pounds per hour. Everything else looks good. ATC's been very quiet, which always worries me. No, I haven't missed a frequency change. Now, what are the winds doing? 31 knots on the nose. It's pretty bang on what the real world forecast was. A normal cruise checklist. Our trims are set. Our giro is on. Prop is 2000 RPM. Power set for cruise. And you know what? I can take my inertial wheel lever off now. That unlocks the shoulder straps. Hey there, if you've just joined the stream. Up in the cruise now, tracking the Pain VR. 9.5 miles to run. And then we'll pick up our GPS routing up to Vancouver International. One thing that catches a lot of people out is they load a flight plan in from the world map, and they're expecting a continuous routing for the GPS to follow the whole way, but on that particular departure sequence, the departure procedure, the Seattle 8, is basically straight out and then vectors. So it won't load the vector sequence in to the G1000, it will call it a manual sequence, and you have to fly that bit yourself, and it's a manual sequence in my case all the way to the Pain VOR. But we can see the next leg, if you bring up the flight plan actually, so you can see we're from 840 feet, which was the clearance altitude, the target altitude we needed to reach after taking off, and then we're on this manual sequence. And the 161 heading was the runway heading at first, and then we broke off that. Yeah, we definitely wouldn't have flown on that for 26 nautical miles, but we broke off that to track up to the Pain VOR. It'll be interesting to see how the GPS handles it once we get to Pain. Just drifting off as we get closer. And of course we've got a bit of a crosswind as well, 10 knots from the left there. That's pushing us off track a little bit, so we just have to track back in a little bit. But yes, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the GPS sequencing once we reach the Pain VOR. Pain VOR was it ever aptly named. So if you ever played Flight Simulator X, all the training was based in this area, and all the IFR training was in this area, and the pain VOR was one of the things you had to track. And the test was really difficult. Okay, that's we're coming right on to, we're just 1.7 miles now, so you can see as we get closer it gets more sensitive. Till eventually what will happen when we fly, oh, yeah, we've just passed over the top of it.
Kilo contact Seattle Center on 128.5. Good day.
Going to 128.59 3 kilo.
So it didn't automatically sequence our next waypoint or our next leg, but that's alright. I'll just speak to ATC.
Seattle Center November 49er 3 kilo 9,000 feet.
So we will,
Kilo Seattle Center altimeter 30.58. Continue as planned.
so what we do is we just highlight that, and then you want to highlight that and then hit the menu and then activate that leg. No, actually we want to activate the next leg, which is gain to base off. There we go, so that's turned magenta now. So if we put our CDI back onto GPS and we hit nav, GPS is enunciated here, it's gone green, and that will now get us onto our track. Temperatures and pressures all looking good, and we've got 34 nautical miles on this track. So the altimeter 3058.
Seattle Center, United 1833 is passing 17,000 feet, climbing flight level 230. United 1833, Seattle Center altimeter 30.58. Continue to Lima Tango Juliet as planned.
Is there any traffic I need to be concerned about? Yep, so looking good. That was quite an interesting departure, that. Say that's the first time I've ever actually had to use the autopilot to track a VOR. That is Kamano Island down there, Whitby Island just beyond it. The ceiling starting to break up a bit, which is what was forecast. And we will get the Vancouver ATIS up on COM2. That's on 124.6.
Boeing Yankee Alpha Romeo, you are 5 miles north of Boeing. Contact Boeing Tower on 118.3 when inbound on the approach. Vancouver Airport information, Yankee 2300 Zulu. Wind 074 at 6. Visibility
Okay, I think I've got most of that. So we've got ILS 26 right and left, but we're also seeing landing 8 left and 8 right, which is in opposite directions, which is one of the bugs in this ATC system. But because we're IFR, we'll probably get the ILS. One of the ILS's 26 right or left. We'll see what it gives. Or we could go for an RNAV if we wanted to. Now we do actually have the pane 4 arrival was assigned in the flight plan, and the pane 4 arrival is kind of straightforward. I'll bring it up on the screen. So here we are at the minute, tracking towards the Bezov intersection, and then we've got Egret, Ebgem, Impo, and then the Vancouver VOR, and that's at that point you either turn, if we've got runway 26 left, we'll make a right hand turn, and there'll be vectors in to pick up the ILS, or we'll track out on 268 for the 8 runways. Airport elevation 13 feet. Yeah, there's nothing else that we need to know from that. What does it say? Egret jet aircraft normally expect 280 knots to cross 20. I expect to cross 10,000. I'm a bit lower than that. Let's see what it says when we get closer. It wants me to climb up to 10. Probably will. A little bit of ice. Icing always starts on the corners of the windscreen first, and that's the thing you got to watch out for. So don't have my de-icing on at the moment, but hardly passing through any cloud. But you can get icing even if you're not in cloud. There's enough moisture. You know, I think I can see a little bit of icing starting to form there, so we'll put on our ice protection systems. I'll just zoom in, so you've got the windshield, and then there's the TKS fluid for the wings and the prop. Our pitot are already on. So just going to start preparing for the landing. We want to think about what approaches we're going to get, and we want to land to the left, so it'll probably be an ILS 26 left.
Going to 125.19 kilo. Seattle Center, November for 3 kilo, 9,000 feet.
November 3 kilo, Seattle Center altimeter 30.59er. Continue as planned.
59er. Okay, so the ILS 26 left is course of 263, frequency of 110.7 with the IFZ indicator and platform altitude of 3,000 feet. With Noxob. So the sequencing is Cyvr Noxob. Although the final approach fix is the Vancouver beacon, omnidirectional beacon, Victor Romeo. 4.3 miles from the threshold. Minimums. Okay, we've got a decision height of 207 feet. Pretty good. Should be well below that. Ceiling was at 2,200. But I don't know what they're going to assign me yet, so I'll not program anything into the G1000 yet. But it's good to be prepared. And I'll request 26 left if I don't get it. But we're not at Bezov yet, so plenty of time. Now what have I got? Engine inlet not bypassed. Okay. Oh yeah. It's because I have the TKS system on, but without the engine inlet and bypass, I get that warning. Tune the Vancouver VUR now, that's on 115.9, get that up on nav1. I'll get it on nav2 actually, 115.9. And there we go, Yankee Victor Romeo, 48 nautical miles. And I'll just get on nav1, I'll get the ILS for 26 left up, which is 110.7. Still a pretty good ceiling. Can't see much. Definitely IFR. ITT looks good. Torque has dropped down quite a bit actually. That's because I've got the engine in bypass. Temperatures and pressures good. Generator and alternator amps look good. Battery volts look good. It's all looking good. So I'll just bring up the ILS chart. So you can see we're down here and we're going to pick up this arrival procedure. It's the ping for arrival. Ooh, that doesn't sound too good. Oh, CTD. Hasn't happened in a long time. Right, sorry folks. That's the end of that. Ah, how annoying. I haven't had a CTD in ages like that, just flying along. Right. It's so frustrating when it does that. Well, thank you for those of you who watched this far, and I'll see you soon. I know there's a bit of a lag, so I'll just hang on. Ay, ay, ay. Alright, folks, I'm going to end the stream there. Thanks for watching.